When the math professor walked into the lecture hall, he saw something strange on the whiteboard. A complex equation. One only a handful of people in the world could solve. But it wasn't a student who wrote it. It was the janitor. Every night after lectures ended, and the university hallways echoed with silence, George put on his gloves and got to work. A mop in one hand, a quiet song in his head, and a deep love for numbers in his heart. No one noticed George. He was just the janitor, the invisible presence who cleaned chalk dust off the boards and coffee spills off desks. But George had a secret. He used to be a math teacher. In another life. Before war, migration, and life's detours erased his past. One evening, Professor Lee left an unsolved equation on the board. A problem he'd been toying with for months. A problem that had stumped even his top students. The next morning, it was solved. At first, he thought it was a prank. But then it happened again. A different problem. A different solution. Always correct. Puzzled and curious, Professor Lee stayed late one night and pretended to leave. And that's when he saw him, George, quietly scribbling formulas with a half-erased chalk. "Who are you?" Lee asked. George froze, mop in hand. "I'm no one. I just like math." The professor stared at the board, then at George. "You're solving graduate-level equations." George smiled faintly. "Used to teach back home. But I didn't have the papers to do it here." By the end of the week, Professor Lee had pulled every string he could. He helped George apply for a tutoring assistant role. 6 months later, George was lecturing in night classes. And a year later, he published a paper under his name. He once cleaned classrooms in silence. Now, students take notes when he speaks. Because talent may go unnoticed, but it never goes away.